and welcome to Soul Symbols. My name is Shelley. I'm a writer, an astrologer, and a card reader, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. Happy Tuesday. It's How to Tarot Tuesday. And what that is it is a video series where every week I discuss one card from the 78 card tarot. And what I do is from 3 different tarot decks, I pull the card I pull the deck of tarot that I think best represents the card that we're talking about. And then what we do is the beginning of the video, we talk about the symbolism in the card in question. And then after we talk about the symbolism, I go ahead and let you, the viewer, choose from one of 3 tarot decks. And we go ahead and we do a card reading that talks about how that card manifests in your life. So today we are discussing the 4 of Wands. The first deck will always be the Rider-Waite-Smith. And today, to discuss the 4 of Wands, I have the second deck I have is the Slow Tarot by Lacey Bryant. And the third deck is I have the Tarot of Jane Austen. I also will be using some oracle cards to help clarify, and we have the Earth Magic Oracle cards by Stephen D. Farmer. If you ever want to skip straight to your reading, the timestamps are always in the description box below, and we'll go ahead and we'll get started. Now, the 4 of Wands is a most joyous card. It's really one of the best and most exciting cards. As we are in the Minor Arcana, the Major Arcana usually describes exactly as it sounds. It describes major events. But the Minor Arcana talks about everyday, day-to-day kind of feelings, like on the minor scale. But the beautiful thing about the 4 of Wands is that what you see is four wands that look like 4 pillars. Across the top of the tops of the 4 wands, you see sprout, you see foliage, and then you also see a garland of what looks like vibrant fruit and flowers. In the background, you see that they are a close distance from what appears to be an open castle. You do have a congregation of happy people who are dressed very eloquently. And then you have 2 persons who seem to have like laurel wreaths in their hair. It's almost like they're victorious, right? And they're draped in cloaks, and they're holding up flowers as if they were bouquets of flowers. So again, with that joyous scene and also with all of the really bright yellow in the background, it's almost like the sun card. The 4 of Wands is definitely one of the happiest ones that you can get from the Minor Arcana. One of the happiest cards you can get from the Minor Arcana. And the reason being is that, just as we begun the wand suit, the ace is really the beginning. It's kind of the getting out of the starting gate. And then the 2 is, okay, how do I proceed? You make a choice. You continue down this path. And then the 3, you kind of see, your ship's coming in. You see yourself really growing. And with the 4, and all 4s mean, the 4, the number 4 really does mean stability. It's the 4 corners, right? When you look at the 4 pillars, it looks like the walls or the cornerstones of a house, right? It looks like the cornerstones of something very stable. You can actually build kind of a tent, with the garland, right? So in that sense, it's the 4 of Wands is a very happy and energetic milestone. It means it's the recognition of some kind of very happy success. A lot of times, with it looking a lot like a party, it looks like a gathering. The 4 of Wands typically means some kind of joyous event, it can mean a graduation, it can mean a wedding. It usually definitely, and as we go through the cards, you'll see that it definitely means after a time of work. Because you kind of saw that. You saw the person in the 2 of Wands and in the 3 of Wands. They were kind of working, right? They were individual, right? And here you see 2 people who are celebrating, and then in the background you see a group of people So really, it's about coming to a culmination. It's coming to a very stable milestone in your life, or as in your progression. In the same vein of celebrations, it can be the celebration of like a birthday. It can be like a special kind of birthdays. Like I know in some cultures, when you turn 16, there's a coming of age party. It can be like a debutante party. No matter what your culture, if you come together, I know that certain cultures in India, they even study the stars. Like they, my astrology side, they map out the perfect day based on the constellations, on when families gather to celebrate things like marriages. And then it could also be things like a bar mitzvah, or basically some kind of celebration, someone coming to a milestone event. A lot of times it's a congratulations on a job well done. So in that sense, if you see this next to a pentacle card, it can be related to work. It can be a going away party or a promotion party. It can be, something to that effect where, you could have reached a certain milestone with your business. I know just the other day, I did a special video for hitting my 50th subscriber, so that can really, again, this being a minor card, it kind of means just something that's meaningful to you, something that you're celebrating. So the other thing is, it definitely indicates it's the celebration after some kind of work. And with the slow tarot, I really love this representation because it takes in the same vein. You have four here, instead of it being four kind of separate pillars, you have kind of a teepee, and you see things growing, right? And what you see is you see folks who look like farmers, right? And they have crops there that are harvested, right? It's almost like a time of harvest. And I love in the background, they have like a marching band, right? And it's like that celebration, like, okay, and spring is almost here. It's kind of like, okay, I planted these seeds, I nurtured the seeds, and they grew. And this is my harvest. This is my harvest time. You get to enjoy the fruits of your labor, right? A lot of times it can mean cutting loose. It usually means the sense of freedom. The other thing is the sense of freedom. You can see everybody's really celebrating, and here the people have their hands waving in the air as if they don't have a care in the world. So again, also, with the four wands looking like pillars, it can be freedom in the sense that you might have had an achievement, like maybe you bought your first house. And, and that's a lot of work, right? Packing up, moving. But then when you start unpacking and you have that first day of actually being settled in, and you just feel that sense of freedom, like, oh, this is my house. This is, this is my place. In the work vein, maybe you've been really struggling, and this is the first, the Four of Pentacles can be the first time that you get a surplus from all of your hard work. Like maybe you've been putting a lot into your business, and then when your business starts paying you back, and you actually see, you actually turn a profit, that can be a Four of Wands moment. A lot of times it's just looking forward to something very expectantly, like you're just excited, like again, that graduation, you're coming up on a milestone that you've earned and has been, not a long time coming, but it just required you to put, effort forth. And it's also being open to new possibilities. It's kind of like, it's that moment when you kind of let go of limitations. Because it's that sense of freedom of saying, I can do this. This is something I can do, right? Like, I remember when I bought my first car, that was a real moment, because I was like, okay, no one is helping me do this, right? This car is mine, right? And it's funny, I still feel that way to this day. Like if I saw the Four of Wands next to the Chariot, I would probably get that new car feeling, like, okay, I bought this car without the help of my parents, or this house is my house. This celebration, this accomplishment is mine. right? I did also kind of feel, I've definitely felt the Four of Wands when I graduated from college, because I refer to my degree as my firstborn, because I paid for it out of pocket, and I went over the course of 8 years at night, and I really did. I packed like three meals a day, and I got up at 6 a.m. and wouldn't go to bed until 11 p.m. I really, doing homework late into the night. And when you finally graduated, it was that sense of freedom. It was like, wow, I can sleep in. I can go out to eat. I don't have to stay up late and do homework. Whoa, what's that? I kind of laughed, because this is definitely going to date me, but I had a tube television the whole time I was in college, and it was funny. It was really like I was living under a rock for 8 years, because by the time I actually had time to go to the electronics store and get a new television, I was like, okay, they're all flat screens. Where are all the tube? And they're like, that's so 5 years ago, right? You can kind of feel like, maybe when we get to the Four of Wands in reverse, that might be you being, under a rock or something. But it's definitely, it's relishing the moment and being just, again, it's that kind of surprise, like, oh, wow, I finally reached this. This is here. This is now, right? Now, the other thing that when you look at the Four of Wands, and this is something a lot of card readers see, is that when you look at the rods in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, which is the card we all go with, it's the first real tarot expression, the artwork from Pamela Coleman Smith, is that it looks like the four rods look like two 11s, right? And what it is in numerology, 11 means the two mirrors. It means mirrors facing each other. And what it is that when you see 1111, and you hear about this a lot, it's kind of like the wish moment when you see 1111 on the clock, and what it is it's two mirrors of each other. It's like I always, and me personally, I always believe that I'm not saying that there's no such thing as twin flames. You believe, whatever you believe is true. But I do believe that in healthy relationships, it isn't a half of anything. You are one whole person and the other person is a whole person, right? But I do believe that people who, I don't believe that all relationships are easy, but I do think that sometimes you mirror one another. Like the one person is kind of a reflection of your good points, and sometimes they are also a reflection of your insecurities. But in tarot and in card reading, all card readers read the Four of Wands. A lot of card readers read the Four of Wands as being the twin flame card. And what it is that it's two 11s. It's 1111. It's two mirrors, one whole person that's reflecting one another. And then you see the two people being happy there. It's like, it is. And in that sense, it is a very romantic card, with the wands being energy and spirit, and and fire, flame, twin flames. So in that sense, definitely when you look at the Four of Wands upright, it can definitely mean a very, very strong union between people. Like if you see of the Four of Wands next to the Lovers or the Two of Cups, oh my gosh, that would just be strobe light, flashing, this is a romance, this is love, right? And so that really plays into my third card, where I went with the Jane Austen Tarot, which the Four of Wands shows the marriage of Elizabeth Darcy and Jane Bennett. Jane Bennett and Charles Bingley. And so what it is it's two sisters and then two best friends, right? And what I always loved about that card is because, again, that deck definitely plays into the romantic theme, and the fact that this can be a celebration. It usually means a marriage, because when you think about it, marriage or getting married is definitely one of those major milestones in life. So it kind of checks all the boxes that all of the themes that pertain to the Four of Wands card. But what I think is so neat about that card is not just because it's one of the most romantic scenes, and it's the happy ending of one of Jane Austen's most famous novels, or Jane Austen's most famous novel, Pride and Prejudice, is that the fact that it is not only, it's a merger of two strong loves, because both Elizabeth and Jane are very close. They're very close sisters, and then these two are best friends. But it merges two different families to the Bennet family, and and what you're describing is stability, right? Two sisters from the same family merging. These two best friends will be brothers-in-law, right? From this union, and then it's two separate fortunes, of course, because it's romantic and it's Jane Austen, what is it, Darcy has 30,000 a year or something, but money aside, it is an investment. And definitely in this time, in the 1700s, oh my gosh, the statute, the foundation of marriage meant something completely different than what it does today. It was a lot more binding. It had a lot of clout. It meant, okay, this is the stability of this family. This is the stability of these relationships, right? And that was a very big milestone. Now, if we go ahead and describe the Four of Wands in reverse. Now, just like many happy cards, just like when you see the sun in reverse, or if you see the star in reverse, the Four of Wands rarely has a negative connotation. Usually, what I kind of think of when you think of the Four of Wands in reverse is usually, just like you said, it's either delayed or the negative manifestation of the card. Now, if it's delayed, what I tend to think of is a milestone that's become convoluted. Like maybe it took you longer to get through school. Maybe you got, maybe you accidentally flunked a class that you have to retake, and it's drawing out, it's making it that much, your finish line. You tripped at the finish line. That's kind of what I'm thinking. It's like tripping at the finish line, where you have that much longer to go before you can get to that graduation. A lot of times when I see this card in reverse, I think of when you have a delayed settlement, like if you're trying to sell a house and all of a sudden, the financing falls through, or you have to jump through a bunch of hoops. A lot of times if you're party planning, and I know this sounds crazy, but if you're party planning, like maybe you're planning for a bachelor party, and then all of a sudden the party company sends you 20 million plastic pacifiers for a baby shower, and you're like, oh God. A lot of times I can also think that maybe it's a party that just didn't turn out the way you wanted it to. Like maybe you were looking forward to this milestone, and then you got there and you're just like, this is it's almost like a crestfallen feeling, right? Sometimes it can mean, a union that, just kind of fell flat. But, what it is that, in the upright, when it manifests as a person, the Four of Wands means happy. It can usually mean happy vacations, or, again, parties that really went off, very well. But a lot of times, sorry. Oh my God. All right, you see that I am not exaggerating this, right? Thank you, dude. Ugh. Never mind. I'm not even going to say it. He's annoying me today. There's some days he doesn't annoy me. Today he's annoying me. Okay. Back to the Four of Wands. The Four of Wands in reverse, when dude with no muffler audio bombs your reading and you get delayed. No, I'm kidding. But a lot of times that, it can mean home improvement. The Four of Wands can mean a house that might be giving you trouble. Like also, maybe that is another good thing, that's another good meaning of it, representation, sorry, I couldn't think of the word, is that maybe you're doing home improvement and it's been like the money pit. Have you ever seen that movie with Tom Hanks and Shelley Long where you're just, you keep wanting to get to that open house where the kitchen is done, the bathroom is done, but you know, then the tub falls through the ceiling and hits the dining room table. You know, it's a delay. It's not going the way you wanted. A lot of times it can mean that you need to take a rest. You know, maybe you are pushing for, this can be school or work. Maybe you're pushing and pushing and pushing, and it's just telling you, okay, you'll get there, but you don't have to take 4 classes in one semester. You're going to burn yourself out. You know, if you saw that next to the 4 of Swords, because it's 4 and 4, oh gosh, that would be the universe telling you to slow down, right? A lot of times it can mean like a disappointment. Again, it can be a dissolution of a marriage. Like if you saw this next to the Justice card in reverse, or maybe even the 5 of Cups, you know, it can mean something to that effect. But a lot of times sometimes it can be narrow-mindedness. Like you might be thinking, okay, this will never happen for me. I can't have that happy ending. Either that, or again, it can be a party that just didn't go off without a hitch. Sometimes if I see the 4 of Wands in reverse next to the 3 of Cups, I've talked before that sometimes I get restless, you know, like I think there's something out there for me. I want to go to this party, I want to go to that party, but then you get there and it's just kind of like meh. You know, it's like, wow, I got all dressed up and I came out here and this is just, it's novelty, it's not fulfilling, right? So sometimes it can be that kind of situation. But when it manifests as people, the 4 of Wands in reverse can be inhibited people. Like it can be someone who's a little bit stodgy, someone who doesn't know how to let loose, right? Either that, or it could be someone who gives poor service. You know, I know a lot of times that when it comes to things like this, like I know that I work really hard in my day-to-day life, and it's like if I do something like go on a cruise, well, not right now, of course, but if you take that vacation, right? If you go to that resort, if you go to Disney World, it's like you work really hard 99% of the year. And if you actually take that break and pay that money to go somewhere, and all of a sudden, you know, you just don't get the 4-star treatment, you know, it's like, wow, you know, everyone talks so great about the wonderful experience they have. You know, either that, or it could be a hotel, right? You go to a hotel and just, you know, again, this being the minors, you know, it's day-to-day experiences. So, you know, the 4 of Wands in reverse can be that experience where maybe you had to give somebody a bad review because they just really left a bad impression. And that can be, you know, your coffee place, that could be a hotel, it could be something like that. But usually, even in the reverse, it just, you know, most of the time, the 4 of Wands in reverse means that you did get to the milestone, but it came at a greater cost. Yeah, again, you know, it can be that you paid more for the repair than you wanted to. The party, you know, took a lot of effort to cobble together and it just didn't go over as well as you wanted. Or you worked really hard and then the celebration just didn't feel, you know, kind of fizzled out. But I have to say that even in reverse, you know, unless you see some really heavy cards around it, it's usually pretty happy on the average. So, you know, that's a good thing. And definitely, you know, in the upright, it's one of the brightest cards of the major arcana, of the minor arcana, sorry. So guys, so that is the 4 of Wands. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to freeze frame the video and let you choose your deck. Again, the first deck is always the Rider-Waite-Smith. I go with the A.G. Mueller, which is a very sharp, it's a very detailed printing of the traditional Rider-Waite. And then with it, I have my Sunstone, which is a very bright card, very bright stone. Sorry, I'm not speaking well today. The second deck is the Slow Tarot, and you have a Bloodstone. And then the third deck is the Tarot of Jane Austen, and I have my beautiful Double Pearl. So I'll go ahead and pause the video and let you pick your deck, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. If you ever need more time, please feel free to pause the video. And again, I always ask that, please choose from your intuition. If, whatever your gut is telling you to do, or if you like I've heard many different ways that people pick their decks. Sometimes they like the timestamp, maybe the numerology speaking to you, or you like the artwork or the stone. But all right, so deck number 1, Rider-Waite-Smith. How does the Four of Wands manifest in your life? That's the Four of Wands. Thank you. Wow. You're just speaking today. You see this, right? This is trying to come out at an angle. Okay. And let's get one oracle card. Oh, you see this, right? Oh my gosh. It's also kind of, the card completion is kind of popping out, but I won't go with it. Unfoldment. Okay, guys, so how the Four of Wands manifests in your life. Well, to begin with, and again, I kind of interpret it. There's different ways I interpret it, the way the cards are speaking. I kind of get a vibe for it, but in the past, you got the Hierophant, and you had the Chariot kind of crossing you, right? Crossing that energy. Excuse me, hiccup. So in the past, I really get the feeling like, oh wow, I feel like you have wanted this milestone. Like there is a milestone, there's a celebration that you've wanted for a long time. And what it was is, in the past, you had to follow the rules, right? You had to stick to the status quo, but you were it made you anxious, right? You're this is chomping at the bit, right? It's almost like, again, the Chariot he's harnessing two opposing energies. These two sphinxes are trying to go opposite directions, but the Chariot is channeling them to run forward in one direction. So here, I definitely get a feeling as if maybe you were working towards something in either work or in life, and you had a lot of expectation placed on you. I am definitely getting kind of a religious vibe. Maybe you have it could possibly be family or just certain expectations that you have on you. A lot of times religious factors can definitely be, it can be the religion that you were raised with, or it can be, expectations of your social environment. The people that you grew up with, your aunts, your uncles, your parents, your grandparents, if they say, okay, this is how we are, this is your, this is who you are, right? But here, I just really get this feeling as if, you have an eagerness about you. You want to go, you really want to charge straight forward. When you have a goal in mind, you really go for it. But I definitely sense that, it's almost as if you're trying to be traditional, but it goes against kind of your inherent sense of self. You want to charge forward. You're an energetic character, but and I really do feel like the Chariot is the one that's winning out here. It's almost as if you want to be traditional, like you respect the traditional, and you respect the values that you grew up with, but it's a little bit like, okay, you're moving too slow for me, right? You know, that's as much as, you know, the tried and true, because the Hierophant's sitting down, he's not going anywhere, right? And even though the charioteer is, you know, standing pretty straight, he's in a chariot, right? You know, as soon as those Sphinx stand up and start running, you know, he's gonna be going places. So I definitely think in the past that you are a very interesting mix of both sticking to the traditional, but really it's almost as if you move pretty quickly. I know that sounds like such a contradiction, but I do get the sense that in your personality, you have a very methodical and traditional way about you, but you go at your speed, and your speed is faster than this. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you have a goal in mind, there's nothing stopping you, right? There's nothing stopping you. But the anchor, what's behind all of this, is definitely some very deep-rooted tradition. And what I see currently is that I see that you really do. You are right on the brink of a very big milestone, because you have the Ace of Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles, and honestly, this might be a life situation, because you see the garden, right? You see all this foliage. It's almost like you see the bridge. All of this foliage looks the same, right? So right now, I think in the past, you were really charging forward towards these goals. And right now you are laying a cornerstone. It's like, I feel like this point in time, you really have the financial beginnings of doing this very big milestone. You're excited. The other thing is I'm getting a lot of excitement, right? Getting a lot of excitement that you're laying your foundations right now. This pentacle is the first of 10, right? And when you get to the 10 is that really lovely house, right? It's the riches. It's having all of the abundance that you need. And it starts with this ace. It's planting the seed of this. So I think in the past, by you pursuing your goals and you know, doing that, you're channeling both your goals and tradition in one direction. And you're right now in the present, you're establishing your foundation. And I do see you making quite a bit of money right now. It's like you're not abundantly wealthy, but you have been working hard, where the money that you make right now is more than enough. You almost have a nest egg, like you're starting to build this foundation. The other thing that I see is that maybe you might have just put a down payment on a house, either that or you're looking to, right? And that's a major milestone. Now, in the future, I'm definitely seeing I'm seeing some energy here, guys. I see in the future that there's a little bit, you got the Three of Swords and you got the Fool just beneath it. So I am getting kind of a feeling as if there's definitely some obligations here, guys. I don't know if maybe something in this tradition has given you the fiscal support to get this Four of Wands, and in the future it looks like, you know, either this situation is interfering with something else that you want to do, or you will have to leave. You know, you'll have to jilt this situation in order to start anew and do what you want to do, right? Do what you're called to do. Because really, look at it, you know, the Chariot and the Fool are very similar kind of energies. They go forth, they go forward, you know, they don't get held down by any, you know, not to say that religion isn't a wonderful thing. Religion roots you, it gives you a foundation. But, you know, the fact that this kind of crosses that, you know, it came out as almost kind of a block. But I do see that, it's you're going to need to pay back something that was given. Like there's some kind of expectation, and this could be, again, it could be some kind of obligation that you have to either family or to something that you kind of owe. But what you're going to be doing is you're going to be balancing the scales, right? And the thing is, with the Three of Swords, there's always going to be an odd man out, right? You see how this beggar, he's not giving any money to right now because he's balancing the scales and he's giving money to this other person. So, you know, what's happening is it's this person's turn, right? This person is not getting anything right now because he has to be fair and he has to. And the other thing that you always notice about this is that there's 2 coins on this side and 3 on this, right? And that's always been an oxymoron. When we actually start, when we had a tarot on the 6 of Pentacles, that's going to be an interesting read. But the Strength card means that you want to be free, right? In the future, there is going to be some kind of odd man out, and it is going to be a painful situation. You're going to have to leave somebody wanting because you have to adhere to your obligations, right? But you also have to follow your heart and do what you want to do. You know the universe is going to catch you, right? And the other thing is you see the bright sun behind these cards, you know, the Chariot moving forward, the Fool stepping off the cliff, right? But you're not going to be scot-free. It's almost as if I do get the feeling as if you feel bad because you're going to end up, someone is going to be the odd man out. Someone's going to be pained by you going liberally forth towards your Four of Wands, right? Your milestone and your happiness is going to require that you pay back someone, and it's going to take a lot of strength, right? It's going to take a lot of strength. I do almost get kind of like that situation, like, you know, I'm seeing a lot of Pentacles. It could just be that maybe you borrowed money, or maybe, you know, someone gave you some kind of, and again, these are majors. You got 2 majors on either side, so it's tough. It's a tough call. But yeah, I do see you doing the right thing. I do see you, you know, leveling, like, you know, making everything fair, but it's going to take a lot of strength. But you are going to do what you need to do, right? You are going to step off that cliff. But I do think that it might leave somebody, you know, it might end up with somebody who's injured from this, and you'll feel it too. You're going to feel it too, but it is going to give you what you want. It's going to give you your Four of Pentacles, but I'm almost getting a vibe as if you have to decide between sticking to tradition and, you know, going off on your own. You know that feeling where if you get guilt tripped for, you know, not doing what others expect of you, right? But the Three of Swords is a very heavy card. I think it will result in some pain. It is going to be a third party situation, right? Someone is going to get hurt, and not to call it like that, but, you know, sometimes you do have to do what you got to do, you know, but you're going to be strong and you're going to make it balanced, but there is going to be somebody who feels jilted in this situation as you go forward. Now, the card that you got is you got Ebb and Flow. And gosh, guys, that's exactly what I'm seeing here. You got to go with the flow, right? You got to go with the flow. Just go ahead and, you know, pay your dues. If you owe anybody fiscally, you know, don't leave them out in the cold, and I don't think that you will. But I do think that you're going to have to roll with it. You're going to have to roll with it, and it's going to take a lot of strength. It's going to take a lot of strength. You're going to have to really kind of, you know, hunker down. But I do think it is going to give you that Four of Wands. It's going to give you your happiness, right? I do often see this as kind of those situations where, you know, you have to make a tough decision and somebody's not going to like it. But it will give you that new hope, that new future, and it's going to give you the milestone, you know, that you want. But okay, guys, so that is how the Four of Wands manifests in your life. My gosh, that's pretty wild, huh? Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to deck number 2. We got the Slow Tarot by Lacey Bryant. So let's see here, guys, in the Bloodstone. How does the Four of Wands manifest in your life? How does the Four of Wands? Ooh, wow, you saw that, right? And the Four of Wands, how do they manifest in your life? Cards are just coming out today. I like it. I like it. And Four of Wands. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is an awesome read. Okay, let's go ahead and get a little King of Pentacles trying to come out. Oh, thank you. Alright guys, so now in the past, let me just go ahead and get a bead on this here. Yeah, now in the past you got the Magician in reverse and you got Temperance, right? So I'm definitely getting the vibe as if in the past in the past you've wanted, you know, again, this is kind of the beginning of your journey. It's kind of like where you came from to get to your Four of Wands, right? And here in the past, I'm seeing the Magician in the reverse, and the way I'm seeing it is that the Magician in the reverse is a little bit of a manipulative character. It's someone who can use the elements of a situation, because again, the Magician has all of the elements. They have the Pentacle, the Cup, the Sword, and the Wand all on the table, right? But in the reverse, it means somebody who uses those elements for their own benefit. It's a little bit of a negative manifestation. And here I see that with Temperance, you see how you've got two persons on either side of the table, and he's just calmly pouring the tea, right? Even though he's got broken windows, and you're calmly pouring the tea, right? So I do feel like in the past, I feel like you might have had to deal with either one person. I am kind of getting the sense that it might have been one person that was a little bit manipulative. And you became very good about calming the troubled waters, right? Like you knew how to manage this person. And it could be a family member, it could be a spouse, it can be a friend, it really could be anyone. But you know, the way that I kind of see it is that, you know, I am getting kind of a feminine masculine. You could be of any gender watching this reading, but I do get the sense is that you became very accustomed to managing this energy, right? You see how calm and placid he is, right? He's just, you know, this person, you can look on their face, they just look like, wow, I'm controlling this situation. You're just like, okay, yep, you're controlling this situation, right? So, you know, and this isn't to bash anyone, but it's just to say, in the past, you became, you know, you want this happiness, right? Like you want the marching band, and again, I love this card. I love the images in this card, all the, you know, the harvest and the celebration, a marching band, right? How cool is that? You know, but I do feel in the past that, you know, all you've ever wanted was this kind of happy scene. It's like, you know, I always think, you know, it's like I don't own my own house, but I always said that if I did, I'd have a little compost place in my backyard, right? Just a place that I could put banana peels and, you know, avocado seeds and, you know, things that biodegrade into the ground, right? And here I just kind of get this sense like it's almost like you want those same things. You just want that simple happiness, right? And it's not even grand. It doesn't even have to be grand. It can be a teepee, as long as it's your teepee, right? TEEPEE, not toilet paper, which is in scarce supply right now. But as long as it's yours, right? And it just seems like in the past you felt like you never really, that it was always kind of blocked. Like you always had someone to answer to, and you always had to kind of be on your best behavior, or that you kind of had to manage, kind of the strong personality of another person, right? And this could be more than one person. Maybe, I know sometimes that happens, just in our psychological makeup, that maybe you grew up with a parent that was a little bit tougher, and then all of a sudden you gravitated towards a spouse that was of the same temperament, and then you just feel like you always have to go with what this person wants. But as I see in the past that this is how it was, you managing this personality where you really didn't feel like you would ever get there. But presently, I do see this, and this is actually a good card. I see that you got the Two of Pentacles. And the Two of Pentacles is kind of juggling money. I always kind of say it's the, should I pay my cable bill, or should I buy those new shoes I want, right? And in the background, you see the bathtub's overflowing, right? Maybe it's, should I pay the plumber, or... But here I sense, and again, the fact that the Two of Pentacles is just below the Four of Wands, I get a sense that you're a lot closer to this happiness, right? Maybe you did move out onto your own, and it has been a struggle. There's been ups and downs, and definitely financially there's been ups and downs. Maybe it's been a little bit tougher because you have to make those tough choices, like, I think the dryer's about to go. Should I buy a new one? So it might have been a little more of a balance on you financially, but it did give you that happiness. I know it seems so silly. There's this really silly movie. It's a comedy from a long time ago called The Jerk. It stars Steve Martin. And what it is that he makes a fortune off an invention, and then later he goes bankrupt. And he owns all this stuff. He goes from being rich to poor like overnight. And as they're evicting him from his house, he walks through and he starts picking up stuff. Like he picks up a folding chair and he's like, and this is my chair, and this is my, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like, okay, well, yeah, I need to replace the dryer, or yeah, I need to fix the plumbing, but this is my house, right? It may not be a mansion, but this is my house. I paid for that wall and I paid for that window. And it's kind of like that feeling. Like it's been a little tough financially. It has been a little bit of a, okay, what do I need to fix? But it is that in essence, it is that happiness that you wanted. Now, moving forward, the future of the situation is you got the Page of Pentacles and you got the Five of Cups. And here, these are very powerful cards. And underneath it, you got the King of Swords, right? You got the King of Swords. So moving forward, I definitely see, I have a feeling that, the Page of Cups is a learner, right? It's a novice. It's someone, excuse me, hiccups. You see how she's got like a little lemonade stand, right? She's simplistically learning how to manage this money well, right? And, the Five of Cups is really a kind of a sad card because, again, it's someone looking at the broken cups but not seeing the two cups that remain. And I love this image because, honestly, with the door opening and the rain outside the window, it's kind of like, it's almost as if you are kind of picking up the pieces, like, maybe this was a relationship that was really, really tough. Maybe this person felt like a little bit of a drill sergeant, and you I'm also getting the feeling like maybe you might have had that stability with someone. Like maybe you lived with someone and they were like a real neatnik and they wanted everything clean, and it got on your nerves, and you finally just said, well, I don't want to live with you anymore, I'm done. But then when you got out on your own, you're kind of like, well, you know, this person contributed to the bills, and they kept everything clean, and maybe this was not as what I expected it to be. So moving forward, you're kind of thinking, you're thinking about how to budget better, you're thinking about how to be better with money, and you are kind of thinking about the situation with this person, but you're doing it in a very analytical way, right? It's almost like you're learning from your past experience is what I'm getting. You're learning from your past experience. And I think, you know, again, this being a very king's energy, this is a king's energy. I think you're being strategic. You're thinking, okay, how can I do this right moving forward? You know, what did I learn from this situation? You know, you don't have to go back to that ever, but it's almost like it's teaching you. You're saying, okay, what have I learned about, you know, my finances? What can I really, you know, and what you're doing is you're making plans, right? Based on all of this experience, you're making plans, and you're starting in the right place. You're starting off as the page. You're not starting off as a knight or a queen or a king, you know. You're starting off, and I'm also getting a vibe as if you're almost kind of starting from scratch, right? Now, this could, you know, if I had to call it, it might not be a situation of divorce, but it might be a situation where one person moved out, and all of a sudden, you know, you're kind of, you're deciding what you can afford, and you're thinking about, okay, because the cups are emotions too. It's kind of like, okay, if you've ever had that where you've lived with roommates and you're like, okay, I've decided I'm never living with roommates again. I'm just never going through that again, right? You know, they drove me crazy, right? But, you know, living on my own is expensive, and I can't really do that either. So here, you're taking a very mature, analytical approach. You're saying, okay, how can I, moving forward, how can I make sure that I don't go through any painful emotional experiences, and how can I get those Four of Wands the way that I want them to be, right? You know, and you're laying a foundation. You're trying to learn the right way to do it. You're trying to learn the right way to do it. And there's definitely opportunity there too, because there are still two cups that remain, right? That's the thing about the Five of Cups, is that you're preoccupied with what's broken. You're not turning to look that there are two other cups there for you, right? And the other thing that I'm noticing is that when you look at the 2-2 on the Page of Cups, or Page of Pentacles, and you look at the colors in the page, and look at the colors of the cups that remain, you know? There might be a very fledgling beginning here, you know? There might be a fledgling beginning here. The other thing about the King of Swords is that he's a very heavy thinker, right? He's very analytical. So the other thing is, try not to overlook, right? Or maybe you're not overlooking it. Maybe you really are seeing it for what it is that you can start, there might be the seed of something better coming along, right? There might be, and you might have to start from scratch. You might have to start over again. But there's two cups that remain. So don't lose hope. You know, plan it out. Definitely, you know, the King of Swords energy is a good energy to be in. This is usually someone who really thinks out a problem. They factor in all of the, they keep their mind over their heart, which is a good thing to do if you've been through a tough situation. Sometimes you really have to think it out to get a plan. The other thing my mom always tells me is that anytime you start getting anxiety, like, the other thing about this is that I kind of think of it as like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? There's nothing I can do, right? It's almost an echo of the Nine of Swords. But instead of panicking, get a plan. my mom always says this, get a plan, right? Start to write it out. Start to say, okay, like do a list of your bills. Okay, if I pay this on this pay period and if I pay that on this pay period, what could I afford, right? And the King of Swords is excellent for that. You get a plan, right? If there's things that you have to pay down, and again, that's that little lemonade stand thinking, right? It's starting small. It's breaking a big problem down into manageable pieces, right? And then when you knock out those pieces one by one. Also, I'll go ahead and put my banker hat on too, is that if you do have bills that are higher, always pay the minimums on the smaller interest things and then pay as much as you can towards the high interest things until the high interest things are the highest interest thing you have. Like if you have a credit card that has a really high interest, put the largest payments towards that first. Pay it, hit it, I always think of Galaga, you know how you play that video game where you're really you're shooting at the centipede that's coming closest to you, right? And then once that centipede is blown up, pay the minimums and everything else, and then start hitting the next biggest, highest interest thing. And that's your plan, right? Budget it out and break it, take a big problem and break it down into manageable pieces and just start to knock it out one by one. Now, the two cards that you got is you got Release, which is autumn or the autumn equinox, and you got Communion. And what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing a lot of the same gray colors here, guys. You see the colors there? Now, Communion is a very Native American card. It typically means, first off, I'm getting a sense as if you really do have, I think that you have, and not to get all, woo-woo on you. I know we try not to get too spiritual, but I do think that you have guidance around you. I think if you quiet your mind and ask for help, I really get a sense of ancestors. I think that there's someone there. I'm getting a real patriarchal, a male kind of energy who's there to guide you. And if you meditate, or if you, whatever definition you give it, if you pray to God, if you pray to your, if you just meditate and get in the zone, I think the answers will come to you. And again, if you're stressed out, if you're trying to get a plan together, maybe just kind of, try to breathe and really get into, think about it. And I do think that you're gonna find a release by autumn. Now, you don't have to, I'm in North America, so autumn is, we're in opposite seasons. So maybe in the next 6 months, maybe by November, you could, sometime in the next, sometime by the fall, you'll be in a better place with this. And I'm also seeing a lot of the same colors, like you see the oranges and the reds. I do think that you'll be in a much more balanced place by that time. And you do see a lot of the same colors in your Four of Wands, right? So yeah, guys, I do see this as being very positive. I do think that you're worried about a lot. You feel like there's so much lost that can't be retrieved, but you have cups behind you. And if you take a practical approach and really, plan it out, and you're in that mindset, ask for help from the spirit world. And I do think that by the end of this year, or by your fall, and if you're in another part of the world, by next fall, you're going to be in a much better place. Like, you're going to feel a release. You're going to feel like you're so much closer to your Four of Wands. All right, guys, so that was a powerful one. I always get so much out of these reads. I really enjoy getting your energy. I do. It's like, I enjoy reading the story. All right, guys, now this is no lie, all of my decks are my favorite, but I love me some Jane Austen. So deck number 3, how does the Four of Wands manifest in your life? Can you see? Okay. How does Four of Wands manifest in your life? This is more of a romantic one. Four of Wands. How does the Four of Wands manifest in? Ooh. And then and the future. What is your oracle card? All right, guys, let me go ahead and get a bead on everything here. Sorry, I just need a minute to kind of see the energies here. Yeah, well, of course, it being a Jane Austen deck, I'm definitely getting a relationship vibe here. But in the past, you got Temperance, and it's wonderful. I've been in, I actually rented the new Emma movie, and this is based on Emma. It's Emma and Jane Fairfax, right? And what it is what's lovely about that story is that, Emma is she's the daughter of a wealthy man, and so she really is kind of spoiled. She's not, she's not. She has everything that she needs, right? She doesn't want for anything. And Jane Fairfax is poor, but she's very accomplished, right? She's very modest, and she's almost like a lady. She's a natural lady, right? She was not born to affluence, but she still has such a good nature. And the two are the same age. They're both 21, right? And they've always had kind of a parallel between them, because Emma has always been almost jealous of Jane for being so good-natured and ladylike, even though she's not born to aristocracy. And here it's them actually, coming to a truce. It's them kind of finally understanding each other. And what I love is that it does even have the angel in the picture. It's in the background, the Temperance angel, right? So in the past, I am definitely getting a feeling as if there was some kind of truce, or there was some kind of peace that you made with someone, but it was a balancing. It's almost, I'm almost getting a vibe as if you kind of parted ways with someone, like maybe it was some kind of amicable separation. And, on the surface, you're like, I'm getting an uneasy truce. And it isn't because you dislike each other, right? But it's, again, these two characters, the reason that they don't get along is because they're too much alike. In astrology, I always say that anytime you have two opposite signs, like, you end up like my sun sign is Libra, and anytime I'm around someone who's Aries, we're both leaders, right? Except Aries are very dynamic. They're trailblazers. They go out and do. And then Libras are a little bit quiet, and sometimes we get a reputation of being wishy-washy, or of waffling. So, a lot of times because you're polar opposites, you go after the same things, right? Like throughout the whole Emma story, Emma is interested in the man that she's engaged to, and Jane end up seen with Mr. Knightley as who, Emma ends up engaged to. But here I'm getting a sense of it was an uneasy kind of truce. It's almost, again, it's like a hesitance, like they have so much in common, but they just say, okay, yeah, we're gonna agree to disagree, right? We're gonna agree to disagree. It was, I get the sense that you made some kind of truce with someone. And if this is a relationship thing, it can be one of those things where, okay, let's just be friends, right? I'm hearing that. Let's just be friends, right? We're just friends. But that really wasn't the case, right? I'm getting the sense that that wasn't the truth, because underneath the Four of Wands, which is that happy future, you got the Nine of Quills, which is that real anxiety nightmare card, right? You're all up in your head, you're torn up inside, right? And underneath it, you got Judgment. You get this happy scene where everybody, and again, it's like this sandwich. It's like the Nine of Swords is in between these two happy. And Judgment is also, the thing about Temperance and Judgment is that this is divine guidance. It's divine guidance. And it's not to say, this is not to say the universe is going to come in and make you have a relationship that you don't want to have or that you're reluctant to have. No, it's just, the thing about all Jane Austen stories is that there's always love connections. And the love connections, because of her time, they had, it's almost like a dance. The dances, dances in Jane Austen's time and in her fiction are representative of relationships. And what it is that in society, before, nowadays everything's digital, right? It's okay, who liked your post? Who did this? Back then it was, well, I know this person, they're the daughter of so-and-so, I danced with them at this dance. And it's, who are you going to end up marrying, right? Who's your one, right? And honestly, not too long ago, it was like that in the 80s, as far back as that is, right? In the 80s, if you wanted to, it's funny when you watch 80s movies, like if you watch the movie Say Anything, he has to go into the, John Cusack has to hide in the bathroom with a rotary telephone to call, right? Or a push button telephone to call. It isn't like today where you just text someone. So, I'm sorry, long story short, you got this block, you have this mental block. It's almost as if you, again, in all Jane Austen stories, she says, okay, Jane Fairfax ends up with Frank, sorry, I'm forgetting. She ends up with her beau, but Emma ends up with Mr. Knightley. But throughout the whole story, everybody is kind of dancing with the other person's partner, but you don't know it. It's almost like, it's almost as if you're figuring out, they're doing the courtship dance of figuring out who they're going to end up with, right? And here, it's like that uneasy truce of where you might have told someone, okay, yeah, no, you're fine. You go out with that person. I'm fine with it. That's what I'm kind of feeling. Yeah, you go out with that person. I'm fine with it. But you're not fine with it. You're not fine with it. It's upsetting you. Maybe you let go of something that would be your Four of Wands. That would be your twin flame or your happiness, your home, your milestone. And the Judgment, and again, Judgment is that wake-up call. It's like saying, yeah, you knew that was your person. You knew that was your person, but you said, nah, that's okay. You can have them. You can have my person. I'm okay. And then you're not okay, right? You're up at night like, And again, it's the nightmare card is in between the two, happy ending cards. Judgment is a call. It's a call to action, but you're laying in bed awake because of some kind of uneasy truce. Now, in the future, where you're headed with this is you definitely, we got the Three of Swords, which is that third party, In Jane Austen's time, it's usually getting a letter to hear about somebody being engaged to somebody, right? So I have a feeling that this is you. And again, letters can, in modern terms, modern day, they mean, notices. Maybe you're seeing something on Facebook. Maybe you're seeing something on Instagram. Maybe someone's posting selfies with someone else, and you're like, they're otherwise engaged. They're engaged to someone, maybe not with rings, but so what I'm seeing is I'm seeing the 8 of coins. So, and underneath you got the 7 of coins, and oh, I love this card. This is one of my other favorite couples in the Emma story. There's a lot of Emma in this read, but what this is Harriet Smith, and this is her farmer love. What is it? Oh God, why can't I remember any names? I just watched this last night. Shoot. Mr. Martin, and who's an honest, very forthright farmer, and what he's doing is he's seeding his farm to make a crop and she's watching him from a distance, right? So, and this really wanted to pop out too. You got the 5 of teacups, which is the 5 of cups. It's that, oh God, what did I do, right? It's explaining, you doing some splaining, right? So yeah, I'm getting a very clear story. Again, in the past, maybe you just weren't ready, and you were just like, yeah, let's just be friends. No, you're fine. You're not my person. You're not my 4 of wands. I'm okay. Right? You're not my home. I let you be free. You're free. Or either that, or maybe someone else is interested in someone that you were talking to, and you're like, yeah, no, we're not dating. We're not together. And then this person, it isn't okay. You're upset. You're thinking about it, and you're being called. It's almost like you're being called. Like, hello. Knock on forehead, McFly. This was your 4 of wands. This was your 4 of wands. And so now moving forward, what you're doing is you're watching the social media, right? And you're seeing things. Maybe this person is going about their life. They may not be with someone else, but typically the 3 of swords does mean somebody else. And so what you did instead is, I think you're trying to distract yourself. I think you feel like you made a bad decision, and but instead you're like, okay, let me live my life. I'm gonna go help people. I'm gonna do my laundry. I'm gonna visit my aunt. I'm gonna work hard at work. I think you're distracting yourself with everything else, but you really are it's almost like you're watching from a distance, right? You're watching from a distance. Either that, or I could read this as maybe that person that you let go, that person that you said, yeah, no, we're not a couple. This isn't anything. Maybe this person is out living a good life, right? They're out doing a lot of things, and you're watching them, plant the seeds of a very prosperous future, or you're looking at them like, wow, what a catch. Why did I let that go? Right? Look at them working so hard. That person is such a good person. And again, with the 5 of cups crossing it, you see how he's like, oh God, face palm, how I'm almost getting a vibe of, how can I fix this? How can I fix this? Again, I do kind of get the feeling that maybe you're seeing this person, doing a lot of things, and there's a little bit of longing here, and just, regret. Now, your oracle card is, you got lightning, and that means power. And also, I definitely think a little bit of the Tower with this because of the lightning and everything. But basically, what it means is that you have the power to change the situation. You do. You're not far away. You're standing at a distance and like deciding what you're gonna do. Either that, or you're keeping yourself so busy, but the other thing I'm getting is that maybe you're keeping yourself real busy, but when things slow down, like when you get home and things get quiet, maybe in the middle of the night when your mind actually slows down, it goes back to that longing, you know? It goes back, the actual ramifications of your decision really sinks in, and you're like, why did I do that? But what it's telling me here is that you have the power. You have the power. You can change this at any time. The other thing is lightning is sudden, right? It's like, you know, ba-boom, crack, you know? And again, and this is like waves of emotion, you know? You could go in and the catch, of course, the catch of this is that you are going to have to do some splaining, you know? You're going to have to, there might be, and, you know, and it's not groveling. It's nothing that you have to, but you might have to kind of explain what was going on, you know? We're all human, you know, and definitely in this modern world, you know, we make decisions that are not always the best, but you know, the other thing about, I love the relationship between Harriet Smith and Mr. Martin. It's such a beautiful, the other thing that I get is that the thing that's beautiful about Mr. Martin's, and there is a new Emma movie. It's actually, it's on pre-release if you have like cable, you know, but it's ridiculously expensive right now. I think it's like $20 to watch it early. But Mr. Martin, you could also watch it on PBS or BBC. They have great versions of it. But Mr. Martin was always very constant in his love. He was, you know, he proposed to Harriet and she refused him, and then he was faithful. But he was hardworking, and he walked the talk. He was a very honest person. And I think that's the type of person that you're dealing with. You're dealing with someone who is very constant. And I think it's going to take humility, you know, and not groveling, but humility. But it is saying that you have the power, right? Either that, or the other way that I read that too is that when you have justice and you have temperance in a reading, I really do think that maybe, because the other thing that is very constant in Austen stories, and especially with Harriet Smith and Mr. Martin, is that they always had chance encounters. It was almost as if the universe was trying to, Emma in her matchmaking separated Harriet and Mr. Martin, but they always ended up crossing paths. It's almost as if the universe was like, no, we need to get these two together, right? So you might be seeing a little bit of that. You might be seeing it where, it seems like sudden, like unexpected. That's the other thing, is unexpected encounters. And that might be your opportunity. That's the thing that I'm seeing. It's your opportunity to change this and get back to your Four of Wands. All right, guys. I hope that resonated. I always get romantic when I read Jane Austen, and I'm sorry, again, I've been watching that movie. I can't wait for it to come out on DVD, because I think it was good. It was good. And I'm definitely I'm a critic when it comes to some Austen movies. But well, guys, I hope you enjoyed. The How to Tarots do run a little bit longer, but I hope you liked. I am going to be doing my regular weekly energy card reading this Saturday, so I hope you can stop back by then, and I'll catch you later. Bye.